Hey everyone, it's Mr. Hollywood, and today I will be ranking the DCEU movies with the release of Black Adam. Now, before I give you my ranking, feel free to share your ranking down below in the comments, and let's begin. In last place is Suicide Squad. Now, I saw this movie a little later than most of you guys, and I was already aware the reviews weren't that great. And I do agree with every single one of the reviewers. The action was weak, the writing was terrible, and the CGI was awful. Now, if you guys are unaware of what happened behind the scenes, basically David Ayer was only given 6 weeks to write the script, and because Deadpool was a big success that year, they took the people that edited trailers and just added more rock music in the movie, and that turned out to be a completely big mistake. Now, the only good thing about this film is the banter between our characters and the cast. Other than that, this film sucks. In 11th place is Justice League 2017. Now, when I first saw this, I found it disappointing, but I did find it cool to see our Justice League on screen. But with everything that I learned that happened behind the scenes, I got more and more gross feelings. Particularly because Joss Whedon, who directed the first 2 Avengers films, basically destroyed the whole film and used Zack Snyder's death of his daughter as an opportunity to do this. What we got was barely watchable when it came out, but after Zack Snyder's Justice League, this movie is just so ridiculous. But the only reason it is slightly above Suicide Squad is because some of the action is actually still kind of cool. Now, as a point of reference, these bottom 2 films I'd go negative on, but the other 10 I'd give a thumbs up. Now, coming in at number 10 is Wonder Woman. Now, I was never as big of a fan as most people, but I do think the chemistry between Gal Gadot and Chris Pine was great, and some of the acting in Wonder Woman's origin was great. Now, my only really criticism with this is that the battle between Wonder Woman and Ares could have been better, but I'm still very happy that Patty Jenkins pulled this film off. Coming in at number 9 is Man of Steel. Now, I understand this might be your number 1. However, I've never had that connection. However, I do think this might be the most ambitious film on the list, and this was the first DCEU film. I do think that Hans Zimmer's score was great, and Superman's origin, while it wasn't as good as Christopher Reeve, I do respect what they were going for. However, I do think the way that some of these characters died was a little too dark, and I feel like I would have just rather them had a similar thing to what they did the original, where this is Superman throughout like year 1. But anyway, this film is still really good. Coming in at number 8 is Wonder Woman 84. Now, if this ranking was 2 years ago, this would have been number 2. However, it did not age well on rewatches. Now, still, Gal Gadot still gives a great performance as Wonder Woman, and our villains, Cheetah and Max Lord, I think are great villains. However, it was not a great idea bringing Chris Pine back, and I do think the final battle was a little disappointing. However, I'm still very excited for Wonder Woman 3. Now, as a point of reference, there's a pretty big jump between Wonder Woman 84 and the top 7. But coming in at number 7 is Birds of Prey, a film that I watched for the very first time this past week in preparation of this video. And I thought it was a pretty good movie. And this film kind of cemented Harley Quinn as a great character. And Margot Robbie did a great job as both Harley Quinn and the narrator. And seeing the whole Birds of Prey was very nice. And Ewan McGregor as Black Mask is a great villain. Now, I don't really have anything wrong with this film. It isn't trying to be the biggest. Coming in at number 6 is Aquaman. a film that I saw in theaters the opening weekend, and I was very happy with this film. Now, Aquaman is one of my favorite characters from the Justice League TV show, and it was just so cool to see him on screen. And it gave us one of our best villains with Ocean Master, and I do think Black Manta might be our best DCEU villain, depending on how Aquaman 2 goes. And, kind of like Birds of Prey, I didn't think there was that much wrong with it. It just wasn't trying to be the biggest. And, I do think just the whole cast in general was great, and Jason Momoa absolutely killed it in the role as Aquaman. Coming in at number 5 is The Suicide Squad, a film that I wasn't going in with high expectations after the first Suicide Squad, and I saw this about a year late, but I heard the reviews were pretty good, and James Gunn directed it, and I saw it, and I absolutely loved it. I do think James Gunn is very great at taking these broken heroes or characters and then, like, developing them for them to become heroes. And this introduced a lot of great characters. You have Sharkman, or King Shark, I forget their name. And you have Bloodsport, who's the best of the Suicide Squad. And, of course, Margot Robbie kills it again. Coming in at number 4 is Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition. Because if it was a theatrical edition, it would be the lower than Suicide Squad. Now, this film, kind of like Man of Steel, has so much ambitions, and it occasionally misses. Now, there's a lot to love. The action was great in this, and it continuing the Man of Steel at the beginning, that was very well done, and the warehouse sequence was great, and the final battle was great. However, one of the problems with this is Jesse Eisenberg wasn't that well written as Lex Luthor, and Batman and Superman only forgiving each other because their moms have the same name is kind of lame. However, like I said, the warehouse sequence is still great. Now, coming in at number 3 is the newly released Black Adam. Now, this film was a film I was a little worried about because the critics' score wasn't the best, but I absolutely disagree with the critics. This film is great. It takes Black Adam, who is a character who I didn't know that well prior to this film, and he's now one of my favorite DC superheroes. And the whole Justice Society are also great characters, and that post-credit scene with Superman was awesome, and I can't wait to see how they're going to take the DCEU forward in the future. Now, for the top 2, it's kind of a tie, but number 1 for me stood out a little more. But coming in at number 2 is Shazam, a film that I was expecting it to be good, but I was not expecting it to be great, and it was great. Zachary Levi completely killed it in the role of Shazam, and Dr. Savannah is one of the best DC villains. And Billy's journey throughout this film was great, and him developing, like, you know, where he would go after, like, his mom left him and finding family. I thought it was all well done. But coming in at number 1 is Zack Snyder's Justice League. I am just as surprised as any of you that they actually pulled it off. It takes a movie that is one of the worst in the DCEU and completely makes a statement of why. This film has some of the best action in any superhero movie and some of the best dialogue in any superhero movie. It takes characters who I didn't find very interesting in the original Justice League and gave them a lot of depth. For example, Cyborg, a character who I couldn't tell you a single thing about his backstory in the original Justice League, he finally gets his time in the spotlight. Batman, a character who was already great in the DCEU, they made even better. And Superman with the black suit was great. And the final battle with Flash turning back time, wow. I don't know how they did it. And I just hope that we do have a Zack Snyder's Justice League sequel one day, because I'm sure it'll be great. But that's just my list. Feel free to share your ranking down below in the comments. And this week I do plan to rank the heroes and the villains in the DCEU. Now, thanks for watching, and peace out.